Hello and welcome to this series of video tutorials for Rockschool Popular Music Theory. In this one, I'm going to walk you through the debut grade. I'm Ritesh Kokar, your course director. Before we get to the course, there's a little disclaimer. The explanations contained in this video are not published by Rockschool. The content is developed by Bridge Music Academy to assist teachers and students in preparing for Rockschool Popular Theory music exams. The slides include content from the Popular Music Theory workbooks published by Rockschool. Anyone studying from this material will need an original copy of the workbooks published by Rockschool. Please refer to the Popular Music Theory Essential Guidebooks published by Rockschool for further assistance. The debut grade theory book has 5 sections. The first one is Prelims, which is only there in the debut grade book, followed by music notation, popular music harmony, band knowledge, and band analysis. These 4 sections are there in every book henceforth. So the prelim section of the debut grade starts with how to make a treble clef. Now the treble clef is written on the set of 5 lines, and this set of 5 lines is called a staff. And these lines are always numbered from bottom to top. The bottom line is line number 1, then line 2, line 3, line 4, and line 5. These 5 lines have 4 spaces between them. The first space, second, third, and the fourth. When we learn to make the treble clef, we start in the first space. We go around, touch the middle line, touch the bottom line, make a loop on the top, come through it, and turn left. I prefer to start making my treble clef in the first space as shown here, but some people like to make it backwards and start at the tail here. They can trace it back all the way. So it is totally up to you which way you want to make the treble clef. Here is a large size staff for you to practice making the treble clef. This is followed by little smaller size and even smaller size. Next we learn how to make the bass clef. The bass clef starts on the 4th line, goes around the top line, touches the top line, finishes in the first space with these 2 dots highlighting the 4th line. That is the bass clef. It's always starting on the 4th line, and here's a large size staff for you to practice, then a little smaller and even smaller than that. So just to walk you through the concept of what is treble and what is bass, here is a piano keyboard. Now this is 88 keys typically, and this is divided into 2 equal halves by this note middle C. Now this is called the middle C obviously because it is in the middle of the piano, as you can see. The right side of the C is the high pitches, which is called the treble side, and those are written on the treble staff. And the left side of this middle C are the lower notes, which is the bass side of the piano, which is called the bass. This middle C could be written on the treble clef or the bass clef like this. Both these symbols, both these notes, C's, denote the same key on the piano, which is the middle C. The notes to the right of this middle C are written on the treble clef, and the notes to the left of this middle C are written on the bass clef. Going forward, we have to also be aware of the note values. As you can see, this is one little circle. This is called the whole note, which is for typically 4 counts. This divides equally into 2 halves, and these notes are called the half notes. Further, each half note is divided into 2 quarter notes, and each quarter note divides further into 2 eighth notes. So the time you take to play 1 quarter note, you can play 2 eighth notes. The time you take to play 1 half note, you could play 2 quarter notes or 4 eighth notes. Now these English names, the half note, quarter note, eighth note, also the names are coming from the whole note. This is called a half note because it is half of the whole note. This is called the quarter because it is 1/4 of the whole note. This is called the eighth because it is 1/8 of the whole note. You will need to keep these time values in mind. This is for 4 beats, 2 beats, 1 beat, and half a beat each. And a pair of 8 notes also total to 1 beat. These are parts of the notes. The circle part of the note is called the note head. For a whole note, it is just a hollow note head without the stem. For a half note, it's a hollow note head with the stem. A quarter note is a colored note head with the stem. And the eighth note is colored note head with a stem and a flag or a tail. When 2 eighth notes are written within the same beat, instead of writing 2 separate tails and flags, they're typically joined by a beam. You will get used to these concepts as we move on with this theory. This is a little passage of music for you. And I'm just going to name some more important things that you would need to know when dealing with written music. These two numbers here, 2, 4, is called the time signature. This is basically talking about the beat values, not the beat values, really the beat cycle that this music will be using. So this is 2, 4, that means after every 2 beats, the first beat will return. And after every 2 beats, you will see these lines which don't have a note head attached to it. These are not stems, these are called the bar lines. And the space between bar lines is called a bar or a measure. Each bar or measure will always have the same number of beats as specified by the time signature. In this case, every bar will have 2 beats. This is a quarter note, which is 1 count, pair of 8 notes, which is also total of 1 count, hence 2. These are 2 quarter notes, 1 count each, totaling to 2. Again, a pair of 8 notes and a quarter note, again 2 counts, and this is a half note for 2 counts. Now we have to learn how to draw the musical symbols. As you can see, this little circle is called the whole note, which we have already spoken about. The question reads, copy the whole note on the left into the empty staffs on the right. So this note needs to be copied in this blank staff given on the right. There's a note that the gap you create between drawing a ledger line should be the same size as the gap between the staff lines. So this is the gap between the staff lines, and this little line above the staff is called the ledger line. This can also happen below the staff like this. So the gap you leave between the staff and the ledger line should be the same gap as is left between the lines of a staff. So please don't make it a little too far ahead or too close to the staff. The second question, you have to copy these half notes in the space provided. This is the quarter notes and the 8 notes. So you will learn to practice how to make the stems going up. Sometimes the stems are coming down as well. And how that works really is the middle line is the dividing line really. So the notes falling on the middle line, the stems typically come down. The notes above the middle line, the stems will come down from the left. And notes below the middle line, the stem will go up from the right. It will always look like a P or a D alphabet, a small p and a small d, but it should never look like a 9 or a 6. The stem will come down from the left of the note head and go up from the right of the note head. So the next question is copy the 8 notes on the left into the empty staffs on the right. So you need to practice writing these notes here, Then these are the beamed 8 notes, and we spoke about the beam little earlier. So these beamed 8 notes need to be copied onto the right. Now you can see that the notes are going up and the beam is also slanted slightly upwards. This is important in the way it looks. It looks more aesthetic that way. Also that if you make your beam exactly parallel to the staff, your beam can actually merge with the staff line, and those two notes could be misread as quarter notes. So you need to be careful that whenever the notes are coming down or going up, it is always wise to slant your beam slightly down or up. So you need to copy this music as well. When you copy this big passage of music down to the staff below, my advice is that you copy the notes exactly below the given notes. This way you will learn the important rules of note spacing, which I'll explain further in further grades. Going forward, you need to learn to write the accidentals. Now, what are accidentals? The concept will be explained a little later, but at this stage, you just need to identify them. This one is called the sharp, this is called the natural sign, and this is the flat sign. For now, you just need to copy this in the space provided onto the right. Where you write the flat and the sharp and the natural sign is also really important. This note, you can see that the note is in the space, second space, and this square of this natural sign is also highlighting the same square, same space. You cannot just randomly put the natural sign or the flat sign or the sharp sign anywhere before the note. It has to be on the same line or space as the note head. So please be very careful writing these. Here you are also supposed to make the bar lines. The question reads, copy the musical passage in the staff on the left into the empty staffs on the right. Identify the type of bar line that each example ends with, single or double, by writing its name below. So this is a half note followed by 2 quarter notes, total of 4 beats here, and this ends with a single bar line. You would make the single bar line here, and here you would write it's a single bar line. Here you can see there are 2 lines here. This is called the double bar line, which is used to mark the end of a section of music. So you would copy this onto the right, make the 2 lines there, and call it the double bar line here. Next is copy the musical passage in the staff on the left into the empty staffs on the right. You have to copy this whole passage onto the right. This is called the repeat sign, which you will learn sooner than later. Here you have to put circle around the time signature of the bar on the left, then copy the whole passage into the staff on the right. The next question is exactly the same thing. So you will need to identify what is the time signature, and we just spoke about it in the little passage of music that I showed you earlier. These two numbers here is the time signature, so you would draw a circle around that, and you copy the entire music onto the right. Staff is the clef sign is already given for you, but in the above example you have to make it yourself.